Alan Moore and Brian Bolland's The Killing Joke has gone down in comic book history as the greatest Joker story ever told. It elevated Batman's archenemy from a cartoonish, simple supervillain to a complex madman forever cast to the edge. As this ad says, beyond evil there is insanity. Beyond insanity, there is the Joker. Of course, Alan Moore doesn't like the comic and says it's one of his worst, but I'm not here to debate its themes or writing. Instead, I want to look at some of the unknown elements of the tale. There have been two mysteries in the story that have perplexed me and other readers for years now, set up with a subtlety that begs us to delve deeper into them. These subjects are pretty grisly, so if you're in the faint of heart crowd, I recommend turning back now. Also, I'm going to be alternating between the classic colors of the story from the 1980s and the recolor that Brian Bolland did in 2008. I feel that both paint jobs have merits of their own, plus I can only find certain images with certain color schemes. If you're a hardcore fanboy and don't want to deal with the colors you don't like, piss off. We don't need you. Okay, so if you don't know the story, it starts with Batman visiting the Joker in the Arkham Asylum, intending to have a discussion about their rather unique relationship. He quickly finds that the Joker has escaped, again, and sets out to find him. We soon see the Joker taking control of an old funhouse, obviously for whatever his current nefarious scheme is. We also get several flashbacks to when he was a normal guy and what turned him into the grinning clown we have today. We move to Commissioner Gordon and his daughter, Barbara, sitting at home discussing the clown at large. For those of you who don't know, Barbara is supposed to have been Batgirl for some years, but I believe is in retirement at this point. I'm not quite sure. Suddenly, the Joker breaks into their house, shoots Barbara, and has Gordon kidnapped. He looks down at Barbara's bleeding body, teeth clenched in pain, tears streaming from her eyes. Why are you doing this? She asks. He begins to unbutton her shirt and raises a glass of liquor and toast. To prove a point, here's the crime. So this brings us to the first mystery. Did he rape Barbara Gordon? I mean, in the emotional sense, sure, because he took her security and damned her sense of self, etc. But we want to know if he really raped her. Like, rape. Did he stick it in her? Later in the story, he ties Gordon up to a roller coaster cart and rides him through the funhouse with large blow-ups of Barbara's naked, bleeding body on the screens. It stands to reason he just undressed to better show off the wound and how much pain she was in, but why wouldn't he rape her? His whole point is to put as much stress on Gordon's mind as possible, so why wouldn't he take this opportunity? What, is it too much for him? But then he never says he does. Even if he didn't do it, wouldn't he claim to have just for the hell of it? The only little reference is in his loony song about the joys of insanity. Its first lyrics are, "When the world is full of care and every headline screams despair, when all is rape, starvation, war, and life is vile." But it doesn't seem to be a specific reference, he's just talking about bad things. Of course, the Joker isn't a terribly sexual person. He's never committed crimes with a sexual inclination before, or since, really. You could make some kind of argument for Harley Quinn, but that's stretching it. Yes, there was that business with the Joker graphic novel, but that's in a completely separate continuity. Still, the main reason he's asexual is because he's never had much reason to commit sexual crimes. Here, he's presented with the opportunity to, so he couldn't make an exception just this once? Maybe he couldn't rise to the occasion. Perhaps the idea simply never occurred to him, though that would be strange since he wrote it in the song lyric. It's not like he doesn't know what sex is, and the flashbacks were shown him with his pregnant wife, and she even describes him as good in the sack. Wait, what if there's a connection there? Like he thinks he's good in the sack, which spurred on this entire rampage. Jesus, I'm grasping at straws. Perhaps Alan Moore thought it would be too stupid for him to rape Barbara. I mean, I think it is a stupid idea myself, but I'm just looking for author intent here. Did he want him to rape her, but realized the fallacy of it and instead made it more subliminal? And that's another thing. Alan Moore has never shied away from the subject of rape before. In fact, it's a big thing in many of his comics. One of his favorite subjects, really. I know he spent a lot of time in jail, but damn. It's not like he was too squeamish on it. Of course, there's the issue of censorship. The editors just wouldn't allow him to show it. But they let him get away with everything else, so why not that? Still, editors can be weird, and the recent unearthing of a rejected page of the story pretty much confirms this idea. Take a look. As you can see, it has a more sexualized feel to it and is more graphic than anything else on the page. In addition to that, it starts to draw all the other pictures in a darker light. Wait, does that phrasing make sense? Here's the published version, showing a close-up of Barbara's suffering face. Brian Bolland claims he drew the image as it was in the script. So does this confirm that Alan Moore's original vision was to have the Joker sexually violate Barbara? Well, nothing can be confirmed. Why would he have to rape her to get this particular picture? Another thing is that this has never been addressed in any other DC comics that I know of. Barbara has talked about how horrible it was to be shot and put on display, but she never speaks of what happened when she was alone. Is this confirmation that he didn't do anything, as she has nothing to talk about? Did she pass out from the bleeding while he made his move? Has there ever been a dialogue between Jim and his daughter about it? Has he ever assumed the Joker did rape her and she reassured him that he didn't? Or was it the other way around? This might be an interesting notion to explore in future Batman stories, but I can also see how it might ruin this comic by taking away some of the mystery and maybe even giving an unsatisfactory answer. Plus, I know DC will never do it because that would require some effort on their boss to actually know anything about storytelling. Idiot. Okay, moving on from this, the Joker torments Gordon with his daughter's abuse, whatever it truly was, and we get more flashbacks to when he became the Joker, and we also see Batman tearing up the city looking for him. Just as the Joker's mockery of Gordon reaches a climax, Batman comes roaring in, scares everybody there, and begins to chase the Joker. He follows him into a funhouse where the Mad Clown gives one of my favorite speeches in all of comics about the nature of evil and the power of one bad day. Not one more day, but that is evil. I love his face in this panel, like he's sad that Batman doesn't see the world from his perspective. Batman catches up to him, beats him up, almost gets shot, and gets ready to take him in. Batman gives the big speech that he wanted to from the beginning, offering to help the Joker come in from the cold to work with and rehabilitate him. The Joker gives him a cold look from over his shoulder, insists, "It's too late for that," then proceeds to tell him a joke, a bad one, really. Amidst all this chaos, violence, implied rape and destruction, the offer of redemption, he sits back and tells a joke. The Joker begins to laugh uncontrollably, and Batman sees the humor of their situation, even cracking a grin himself. The grin soon mirrors the Joker's mad laughter, and before they know it, they're both consumed with giggles as the police lights approach them in the coming rain. There's one last panel of them together, silhouetted against the light, showing Batman's hand reaching out to his enemy and the Joker throwing his head back. So the big question is, does Batman kill the Joker? Or is he merely reaching his hand out for support, as many people do when they're laughing? Well, the obvious answer is no, because the Joker isn't dead in subsequent stories. Or maybe he was. That would certainly explain some storylines. But then Alan Moore didn't intend for this to be a canonical story. It wasn't meant to ever be referenced again. They just liked the notion of Barbara Gordon in a wheelchair, and this darker characterization of the Joker, so they left it in. His original intent could have been anything. My question is, what happened when the police found him? Were they just like, "Batman, why are you laughing with your worst enemy?" "Because I'm Batman!" Speaking of which, what if Christian Bale laughed? And if he was killing the Joker, were they able to pry him off him just in time? After they pried him off, did he have to fight them off in order to escape into the night? I bet none of the cops saw him disappear, but the Joker did, and they still thought he was crazy. Anyway, I've also read interpretations that say the answer is in the joke he tells. The joke deals with two guys escaping a loony bin, and one thinks he can walk across a light beam. I've heard people say Batman was walking across the light beam, and then he fell, thinking good could save him, that he was the guy with the flashlight killing the Joker with false promises. There's a light in the very last panel of the story that goes out, which could symbolize death. An actual comic book writer, Grant Morrison, said his interpretation is that Batman killed the Joker and it was the end of the whole story. I hate Grant Morrison, so his opinion means nothing to me. If you look closely at the art, you can't see Batman's fingers creeping around the Joker's neck, but that's not very definitive. You might also know that the last three panels, the laughter stops, which might indicate the Joker finally bought it. But wouldn't Batman still be laughing, or did the sirens just overpower them? If you look in the second to last panel, you can see the Joker's shoes, which look like they're still standing on their own power, which a dead man can't do. But in the front of the book, there's a camera which says wits, which means laugh in German, and cameras are evil, so he must have died. But in The Laughing Man, Gwynplaine lives, which means the Joker must live, and okay, alright. Let's look at what the authors have to say. Nothing, just what I thought. Why would you either confirm or deny something you deliberately made ambiguous? Not to mention Alan Moore hates the story anyway. Of course, what did the original script say? Well, I've gotten it from a source on the internet, so who knows if it's genuine or not, but why wouldn't it be? I guess some nerds would go through all this trouble, but damn. It suggested the two of them are collapsing on one another with no description of them being in silhouette or the suggestion of ambiguity. Bam! There's your damn answer right there. Alan Moore had no intention of Batman killing the Joker right there. It says he knows he will inevitably kill him, but at some future date. That's what they're laughing about. Of course, this means the silhouette was Brian Bolland's idea, and what did he intend? Well, that's just the thing. The whole point of ambiguity is to let the reader decide what they want, making the whole experience more subjective. If you think Batman should have killed the Joker right there, then put forth your will, and he did. If you think he had enough self-restraint, then the Clown Prince of Crime is still alive, raising hell. It goes for the rape, too. It's the same tricks he pulled in The Watchmen, V for Vendetta, which Shakespeare did in Hamlet, Dante in the Inferno, Sophocles, and Oedipus. They're able to touch you in a way no one else is able to, making you think about things that aren't real on a plane higher than you might consider for what's sitting right in front of you, right now. But you came here for an answer, so here it is. The Joker raped her and Batman killed his ass. The end.